Keeping the Mystery Alive. Hi, I'm Anne-Margaret with this week's Sacred Sunday message to raise the vibration of your body, mind, and spirit. So, exciting topic today, right? Whether we're keeping the mystery alive in our romantic relationships with our partners, or in our work, or what we're creating, our artistic endeavors, or our health, or our relationship with God, or the universe, our life in general. Why and how do we need to keep the mystery alive? How do we do that? Today's talk is all about that, inspired by my beautiful parents who celebrated their 56th wedding anniversary yesterday. Auntie and I are going to surprise them with a few-day trip coming up here tomorrow. And we'll be celebrating our own anniversary, our 14th, in September. So those of you who have partners who you've been with for a long time, this talk you'll probably get a lot out of. And at the same time, if you're swinging single or you're very happy in your relationship and it's going really well, but you'd like to go deeper into the intimacy and keep the mystery alive in your work or your health or whatever it is, I promise you'll get a lot out of this talk too. So thanks so much for joining me for today's Sacred Sunday. Let's dive right in. So look, we have all different kinds of relationships in our lives, and it usually is the cause of all of our suffering is some sort of resistance around that relationship, a lack of understanding, a lack of deep diving into the full awareness of that relationship. So today I want you to keep your mind open, keep your heart open, and let's look at why I use the word mystery and not magic. Many times when we're talking about relationships or in keeping the magic alive, that kind of puts a bad taste in my mouth, and here's why. So mystery versus magic. Let's look at that. So mystery is something to be explored. It's something to discover or to solve. And I think about, I used to watch Murder, She Wrote with my mom when I was little, and those weren't too complicated of mysteries, but the Alfred Hitchcocks and all of these really cool explorations of solving a riddle was so fascinating because you had to use your mind, you had to be in it, you had to be committed to it and feel it out. And I think about even how popular escape rooms are right now. They're riddles to be solved. There's something very intriguing about a mystery, all right? But you have to be committed, all right? Let's look at magic. Magic is instantaneous. It's elusive. It's something that's like, I don't know how it happened, but it happened. And it's really ostentatious many times. So it's very showy. It's very it's always got this presentation after the magic trick happens. Usually the magician strikes a pose and everybody claps and oh, something just happened. There it is. That's the trick. An example of that is once you figure out how it's done, one of the drawbacks to magic is it can be a little boring, right? Once you figure out how it's done. But both really are entertaining, aren't they? Aren't they? Many people like both aspects of mystery and magic, and there's nothing wrong with that. One, however, lasts the test of time, and one is more fluffy and has a tendency to fizzle. All right, let's figure out which one that is, right? So when we have an approach to relationships, we have an approach of intrigue, or we have an approach of shock value. They can do this with the movies too, with creating movies where they are relying on intrigue and mystery and the unraveling of this intricate web or design of the writer of the movie or the film. Or there's just a lot of shock value. Yeah, there's got to be a story, but there's a lot of shock value. And I think two very obvious examples of this are, and I hope I don't offend anybody by saying this, but Alfred Hitchcock, very suspenseful, makes you think, has you on the edge of your seat without being gratuitous, versus the Saw trilogy. Okay, I couldn't even make it through those movies. I just said no, thank you, because they were incredibly gratuitous, full of gore and shock value. Now, in today's society, we want everything immediate, right? So there might be a lot of fans out there that are like, well, no, I think it's brilliant. And like I said, I hope I don't offend you by saying that. But at the same time, there is a truth to saying that more, faster, bigger, wild, more bloody, more gore, scarier, has an appeal to people that is not working for us in our relationships in real life, okay? Things don't just happen pronto, magic, 1, 2, 3, poof. They require diligence, commitment, and the payoff is massive if we put in the time and the investment. If we don't, we're going to get the same kind of return on our investment. We're going to get a fluffy, superficial response from our partner or from the world. So the intrigue, let's look at intrigue versus shock value here. So intrigue is, it presents this puzzle to explore and to solve. All right. It requires commitment. It requires a delayed gratification, but it has a greater return. Let's look at shock value. It has a lack of trust and depth. And why I say that is this: lack of trust is lacking that there is going to be an outcome eventually. It lacks a certain belief in or trust in the viewer. We're talking about movies right now, of course, but it's going to be parallel. Wait for it. Lack of trust in the viewer to be smart enough, to be inquisitive enough, to be a co-creator with the mystery that's unfolding. All right, so it really lacks the trust. So it's very superficial, lacks depth. And many times the shock value really requires a compromising of our character, a compromising of our integrity, meaning maybe of our value system. Maybe we don't want to be watching gratuitous gore. We don't want to be watching gratuitous sex. We don't want to be watching gratuitous violence and participating and feeding our mind with watching this kind of programming. All right, and I'm getting a little off track here, but for a good reason. The shock really, it perpetuates this addiction. It perpetuates the addictive personality of more. And we see this mirrored in Hollywood. We see this mirrored in our film and our entertainment. It's like, it's got to be even grander and wilder and, even crueler in the reality TV shows, and even more gratuitous in violence or sex or whatever it is. All right, why is this not helping our relationships? Let's take a really steamy example in the bedroom, right? Sex life between a couple. If we take the shock value where everything is like got to be more crazy, more wild, it can get kinkier and kinkier and kinkier, right? But it can sacrifice, many times covers up, a lack of depth in the relationship. You're substituting a true deep connection with your partner for this kind of shock value, entertainment value, role playing, etc. Nothing wrong with it, right? I get it. But if it's replacing deep and true intimacy, we're not going to be in a good place. It's going to peter out. It's going to be short-lived. It's not going to have that sustenance that we need for lasting relationships. Now let's look, we're going to move from the bedroom to work. Very radical transition there, but at work, we might feel like, we need to be entertained and it has to always be this or go after this greater goal. And it can also appeal to that addictive personality. And we all have addictions, right? It's not just the people in the anonymous groups. We all have addictive parts of our personality. Maybe we're addicted to comfort, to work, etc., or negative self-talk. So if we're always going after that dangling carrot and always compromising a peace of mind, a groundedness, we need to be entertained. We're always complaining about work. We're always self-victimizing through our behavior. Here again, we're also compromising our character. Here we're also compromising our integrity. Maybe we're not working with our full potential at work because we're so annoyed and we keep perpetuating the complaints rather than falling in love with the mystery. And we lose our pride with that. We lose our purpose, our real sense of purpose for belonging, for being there, for doing what we're doing each day. That's not going to last very long, all right? Or we're going to have to really compromise who we are. And then lastly, let's look at life. I mean, if we're more in the shock value of life versus the intrigue, we might actually fall in love and perpetuate the dramas of life rather than uncovering how life works, understanding about the big questions, asking those big questions, sitting and grappling with them with your friends, with your family members, with your loved ones, rather than just being like, who cares? Let's just do this and be entertained and nobody knows, so why even bother ask, And this is a real superficial floating through life and avoiding intimacy. Again, avoiding intimacy with your own existence. All right. So whenever we're in addictive behavior, and I feel like that more tends to that shock value or entertainment or keep on that dangling carrot, we're avoiding intimacy in some way, whatever addiction it might be. So here, if we're like, who cares? We're avoiding the depth of intimacy in our own life. So let's look at 3 traps in relationships, specifically more so in the romantic realm, but can spill out to any other relationships. We've got 3 traps. We've got boredom, we've got comfortability, and we've got resignation. All right. So first, boredom, focusing on the wrong thing. It's like a child who's not getting what they want and they keep focusing on what they don't have rather than look around and realize they're at the circus or they're at an amusement park or they're with their friends at the pool or whatever. It's focusing on the wrong thing and it's looking for sparks rather than electricity. Okay, that's really important. Looking for the sparks rather than how it happens. Now, some people will be like, I just want to watch the fireworks. I don't care how they work. But if you can fall in love with the intrigue around it, it might be really fascinating to find out how those fireworks work. Both the ones we see on the 4th of July and also in your relationships. Why? We'll get to that in a second. So boredom sacrifices quality. It's of the experience and it sacrifices the adventure. And if we dig into the mystery around the boredom, we can find the root of the cause. Like the fireworks. Wow, well, what keeps that polarity alive in a relationship that's an absolute necessity, that masculine-feminine balance? And rather than expect the spark, we can initiate it and know how to keep initiating it. And isn't that what we really want? We want to keep that alive. Let's look at comfortability. Comfortability, the traps here are predictability. It's the expectations, even the narcissism of everything needs to revolve around me. And the comfortability, oh no, I don't want to get outside my comfort zone. It needs to come to me. It needs to be here. My expectations need to be met. What we're sacrificing here is the co-creative energy. We're sacrificing other people's wisdom, their input, their brilliance, their creativity. All right? And if we dig into the mystery around that trap of comfortability, there's so much to explore. There's so, great, the equation is the sum is greater. The outcome is greater than the sum of the parts, right? When we put 2 heads together, it's so much greater than equal individual separate existing, right? Putting them together creates even a massive explosion of creativity, of experience, of brilliance, of input, of that co-creative energy. So we uncover new pleasures, we uncover new ways of being fulfilled that actually involve the other party as well. We realize it really gives us pleasure to pleasure somebody else, to serve somebody else, to do great work. We get pleasure out of that. We can really find that when we start connecting with others and we don't just rely on our comfort zone. All right, that's a trap. 3rd trap is resignation. All right, resignation. It's like we gave up the riddle. Like we just threw in the towel of the puzzle and when we did that, it's not like we just gave up. We started making conclusions that established beliefs. We established beliefs by the conclusions we made when we said, nah, forget it. It's never going to happen, or we're resigned in some way. And that belief system then limits our reality. It shapes our reality from a very limited perspective. So with resignation, what we do is we sacrifice being in the game at all. We're on the sidelines now. We're watching other people live. We're watching the entertainment through our TV rather than being entertained by life, being in the depth of the excitement of our relationship, rather than the relationships we'll see on TV that are fake. Right? We can find the same excitement, the same drama, the same curiosity, the same unfolding in our own lives if we start going in a little bit more deeply. So if we dig into the mystery, rather than having this sort of lifeless existence of being resigned, kind of like walking dead, like we're not growing anymore in that existence, if we dig into the mystery, we uncover self-limiting traps that we've kept in place, patterns, belief systems, things that have been keeping us from like absolute unbridled self-expression, from unbridled freedom, from new pleasures and joy in life, seeing and experiencing the awe of life. Like that's what we have by giving up that resignation and digging into the mystery. So, what chakra does this all kind of steer around? It's the second chakra, guys. It's the second chakra. As well as others, of course, like they're all interconnected, right? But that second chakra in the lower belly area, that's the center of our inner child, our creativity, our playfulness, our sexuality, the sexuality creative energy that really prompts ingenuity, free thinking, problem solving, uncovering mystery, entrepreneurship, right? Invention, excitement, being in the lust for life, in that awe of life. It's the second chakra. It's that inner child energy. And what is like, and that's the area between like 3 to 8 years old, 5 to 8, 3 to 8, somewhere along that area for you. So if you've been around a kid around that age, they're always like, well, why is this? And why? There's such a hunger for exploration. There's such a hunger for understanding. They want to know why about everything because they know it's an exciting exploration. Everything is new. And yet somewhere along the lines, don't we do this in our relationships? We go, I know it. I know what that's going to be. I know what they're going to do. It's resignation. It's a trap, right? So remember, the 3 traps are boredom, comfortability, and resignation. So let's look lastly here at strategy. How many times have you said or you heard people say, oh, I've tried everything. I've tried everything. I've tried everything. That's resignation, right? It is the easy way out, and it is never, ever, 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 ever true. Because life is so unpredictable and there's so much to discover. There's so much we don't know, and there's so much to dig through and really unravel the mysteries of life. And one lifetime is barely enough to even scratch the surface. So saying I've tried everything is just the easy way out. Easy way out to the sidelines, to the walking dead, to a very miserable, lifeless existence. Okay? That's the bad news and the good news, all right? Because we know, like, if we're saying I've tried everything in our relationship, no, you haven't. You haven't. Keep exploring. What else is there? I'm not saying force an outcome and you've got to stay with this very dysfunctional relationship. Don't misunderstand me, right? I'm saying what else is there to explore, all right? But usually we go, well, it's their fault and we're pointing the finger. So wait for it. That comes with number 3. So first thing is, remember, if you're saying I tried everything, you're delusional and you're pointing yourself to the sideline. You're driving the relationship off the cliff. You're not going to be on path. You're not going to be in alignment. Second thing is keep on your side of the fence. This is so important. If you are straddling the fence, it's very uncomfortable, right? Get on your side of the fence. Stop pointing your finger at your job or your coworker, at your partner, at your kids, at your mom or your sister, your brother. And instead say, what is there here for me to learn? What is there here where I can grow? Absolute accountability. When we take absolute accountability for our lives, we assume responsibility and then can see things we didn't see before. Our perspective goes from this, which is a very victimizing, finger-pointing, powerless behavior, to this. We start seeing everything. We come out of that false belief system, that limiting belief system, and then we can see things that we've never seen before. We see things that we've been doing that are lowering our vibration, new experiences that actually can broaden our perspective. That's why traveling is one of the greatest things we can do to increase our frequency, to understand compassion and how other people are different from us. They are not wrong. They're just living differently from the way that we see the world. And instead of focusing on how wrong they are, what if we sought to learn? We sought to learn. It's a very different approach. And as we shift our perspective and our belief system, the people and our circumstances around us, they change. You can't look like, if you have poor eyesight, right? And you change and you actually put on your glasses or your contacts, you get LASIK or whatever it is, you have corrected your vision. This is the same way when we believe in false beliefs, or we're projecting our expectations onto others, or our belief system onto others. Once we shift that, we clear the lenses, we correct the vision of how we're seeing the world, everything changes. So the third piece of that strategy at first is, if you're saying I've tried everything, you haven't. It's delusional. You're steering yourself onto the sideline to defeat. Second thing is keep on your own side of the fence. What is this teaching me? How can I focus? How can I grow here? How can I expand? And the third thing here, very simple, but a very challenging word, faith. All right? Faith is having faith that there is a solution, having faith that there is a reason, that there is a lesson, that there is a blessing in all of this unfolding. All right? If you do that, and that's something that's a choice, it's not something you don't have faith because of evidence. You have faith because of our sovereign ability to choose. So go through your Sunday today, your week ahead. Remember that empowered ability you have to choose, to dig deeper into the intrigue of life rather than just focusing on the sparks and the magic. Get underneath of it. Explore how it's being caused. And you might actually find something like a wellspring that will consistently feed your soul and your relationships. All right, guys, thank you so much for joining me. And remember, until next time, keep raising the vibration. All right, bye, everybody.